You said there should be another Nakba. You also said, I am personally proud of the ruins of Gaza. 23,
Please.
you said, I don't care about Gaza. I literally don't care at all.
This is really a fascinating clip here. This May Golan is part of the Israeli government, one of these far-right actors. All you have to do is listen to her speak, and she's really just going to expose herself over and over and over again. People who are actively attacking and bombing and killing innocent people and claiming to be like these heroes, or have these like this hero complex, telling all kinds of lies, talking about what, you know, that they're not intentionally killing civilians, or that they're the most moral army on the planet, and that they're really doing, you know, a targeted job in Gaza. That meanwhile the whole area is just absolutely decimated, and you know, you have people like Piers Morgan easily calmly pointing out these lies and this deception and propaganda. Let me know what you guys think about this whole situation. Try to enjoy the conversation, and here we go.
Well, joining me now is Mike Golan, the Minister for Social Equality in Benjamin Netanyahu's government. Welcome to you, Ms. Golan. You were listening to that, but you were grimacing and pulling faces. What was your issue with what you heard?
Now, first of all, thank you for having me, Mr. Morgan. I was hearing parts because I was talking with my staff here, but for some of the things I heard, some were just absolute lies. The IDF is happy when he's bombing hospitals or schools, really? A country and a nation who suffered the Holocaust and lost 6 million people is happy about hunger and is trying to use that as a method. And also I was really trying so hard to listen to one word of him saying about the captives that we have, about the hostages that we have, the 50 hostages that weren't released. I didn't hear anything, not even a word. And I can understand the suffering. Of course I can. Trust me, Mr. Morgan, no one wants to see children died, children hurt. No one wants that, let alone the Israeli people who suffered what they did. But for them to say that we are doing it in order to hurt specifically innocent civilians is an absolute lie. I can tell you, and
but I hear this, with respect, Minister, I hear this from a lot of
yes.
Israeli government members, ambassadors, lawyers, and so on. And my point is always the same, is that even if we accept that nobody in the IDF has ever deliberately targeted a child, which is contradicted by a lot of witnesses, but even if you accept that premise, you have to also agree that 20,000 children, maybe many more, that's just the ones that we believe is the number, have been killed as you've gone after Hamas. And it's a staggering number of children, innocent kids who've been killed here. And just on a human level, well, surely you must accept that this has now gone on long enough.
First of all, on a human level, I can tell you, not 100%, 1,000,000%, that we take no pleasure whatsoever not in seeing anyone innocent in Gaza who died, let alone our holy and hero soldiers and our innocent people. But let's put some things in perspective, and I would like to answer that, you know, as much as I can, that would satisfy you, because hearing the interview before, it seems like you're coming from one side, and I can understand
I don't take sides.
The amount of videos you see.
I'm not on anyone's side.
Okay,
And as you probably know, at the start of all this, for many months, I was the one being attacked by the pro-Palestinian guests who came on because they didn't like the fact that I was supporting Israel's right to defend itself, and in fact said it had a moral duty to defend itself. So just because I'm now criticising the Israeli government, let's not pretend that somehow I'm changing sides. I was never on anybody's side.
No.
I try and be an objective journalist.
When I heard that recorded just now, that interview, you said to him specifically, no one needs to persuade me about Gaza. So I think that when you see, okay, Mr. Morgan, let me answer. When you see videos and when you see pictures, which I'm sure you get a mass of them, okay, you have to remember those videos and pictures don't come from the moon. Right? They're coming from people who take videos there. Everyone has mobile phones, smartphones. So obviously, some of those videos could be reflected to one side. I really do suggest, you see some of the videos of the horrors that happened on October 7th.
I saw them.
Of the horrors that have been happening. One second.
Well, I saw them.
You saw the 40-minute video? You saw the 40-minute video of the horrors? Well, if you saw that, if you did saw that, and let me just tell you that it's just a part. It's just a part
Yes, I
of
know.
what we could have shown, because the majority was horrible. If you saw that, you can't stay calm in yourself and relaxed about what Israel and the Jewish nation have to endure for the last 75 years. We have women that are being slaughtered and raped in the most brutal way. I'm, as the Minister for Social Equality and the Advancement of Women, which I just heard the person that you interviewed mocking about it and laughing about it.
What he was laughing
can tell
about.
You
No,
that
hang
the
on,
testimony,
hang on,
he
hang
was
on.
laughing and mocking. You
Hang
asked
on.
him.
No,
you
you must have
why do you laugh about that?
You must have
I heard it.
mischaracterized it.
Okay.
The point he was making, and he's an extremely courageous doctor who risked his own life several times now to go and work in hospitals in Gaza as the bombs are dropping. So I won't have you attacking him.
Yeah, I wish
on
he
a
would have
personal
told
level.
you that Israel has suggested more than 100 incubators to the Shifa hospitals and to the
Israel
authorities of
has
Hamas, and
as
they
you
refused
know,
it. I
as
wish
you-
he would have told you
Stop
that
shouting,
many
please.
hospitals, Mr. Morgan, 1 second. I wish he would have told you that many hospitals underground have facilities of terror. I wish he would have told you that schools and places of humanitarian aid, which, by the way, the country that have massacred in her holiday, has been given over 70,000 aid trucks. Do you hear that?
Yeah,
70,000
you know what? I'm sorry.
aid trucks. He's talking about a hospital.
Let me respond.
What country does that? A country that has a woman being chopped off into pieces and babies being chopped off into pieces, men beheaded, elderly people are being kidnapped. Do you know what we had to watch?
Yes,
He's talking about what the Gazans are being through, but what
I
about
may
the Jewish
speak.
nation that have buses been blowing up for the last 70 years?
Yes, okay. Let me respond. As I said to you,
Yes.
For a long time in this war, I defended Israel's right to defend itself. But that right to self-defense has now been consumed by senior members of your government, your colleagues, Smodrich, Ben-Gvir and others, extreme right-wing members of that government, who are now talking in a very brazen and very open way about what they really want to happen, which is, in their words, cleansing Gaza of all Palestinians. That is ethnic cleansing. That is a war crime. So you may not say that, or maybe you will, but your colleagues are saying that, and they want to cleanse Gaza, as they put it, of all Palestinians. That is not self-defense. That is ethnic cleansing. So you can play the moral argument against me about October the 7th, but it's pointless.
I don't need to play the moral argument.
Well, let me explain. Let me explain. I have said repeatedly, if I may finish my sentence, I have for 20 months.
I hear you in delay. Don't
Can
get
I finish
angry,
my
Mr. Morgan.
sentence?
I hear you on delay.
Okay.
But don't get angry. I hear you on
You're
delay.
the one getting angry. I'm trying to get a word in.
I'm not.
Right, let me finish my sentence, if I may. For 20 months, as anyone who's watched my show will tell you, and I would suspect you haven't watched it much, or you wouldn't be questioning what I feel about October the 7th. To me, it was one of the most heinous terror attacks of modern times, an absolutely despicable assault on predominantly innocent women, children, grandmothers, grandfathers, in the most repulsive, horrific, atrocious manner. And Hamas, to me, are a disgusting terrorist organization who lost any right to govern for another second in Gaza the moment they perpetrated that act of pure evil. However, and it's an important however, what the Israeli government has been doing in the last few months in Gaza has now, to even its closest allies, become something they cannot defend. And you know this. When you do a 3-month blockade of food, you all boast about how much aid you're giving them. You blocked most aid and food for 3 months to an already starving, impoverished
Listen,
people
Mr. Morgan, you're
who
saying
have
a lot
been
of
rained
stuff,
with
and
bombs
I need to remember
now
to
for
comment
20
about
months.
all of them.
That is actually not
We do
a
not.
right
That's a
thing
lie.
to do.
That's
right?
a complete lie.
It's not a lie.
It's a lie.
It's not a lie. The blockade
It
is not a lie.
And if you let me comment, you say so much accusations. You have to let me comment about some of them.
So there was no
First of all,
blockade.
let's start with the Smotrich. Okay, wait. You said a lot of things. I want to comment about all of them. If you let me, I would be more than happy.
Okay.
First of all, let's start about Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, what you said. Now, Mr. Morgan, I don't need to explain to you, who I have been watching his show and for many, and been watching your professional career for many years, by the way, and do have evaluation for everything that you say and for what you believe in, which I really think you are being misled. That is why I came here on this show, not because I think anything else. Now, I would be really happy if you let me finish some of the points I want to tell you. First of all, regarding Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, you have to know, with all of your profession, that there is two kinds of politicians. One, like you interviewed, for instance, Naftali Bennett, an interview I did watch, who by accident forgot to mention that he launched a party just a month ago, and forgot to tell you that he signed so many declarations before he became a prime minister and didn't held up to any of them, and he forgot to tell you a lot of things, but in actual fact deceived his own people. And just like the rest of them that you interviewed, Olmert and Barak and all those prime ministers, the one thing in common that they all have is the fact that the public doesn't vote for them anymore, so they're very bitter. Now, regarding Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, you have to remember, when you're saying Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, you're talking about, and I don't know what they said, but I'm referring to what you said. I'm, trusting your words. You're talking obviously about the Trump's plan. Now, this is not Smotrich or Ben-Gvir's plan.
No, I'm not talking about Trump's plan.
Okay, so I don't know. I don't know
about what came out of their mouths.
They want to kill.
They want to
Palestinians
cleanse.
in Gaza?
Their words: cleanse Gaza of all the Palestinians.
So when you say cleanse, I can tell you that they refer to the Trump's plan. And when we're talking about Trump's plan, I have to tell you that, first of all, Donald J. Trump, which is what I consider the best thing that God could have given us for a new Middle Age, his collaboration with Prime Minister Netanyahu is really what we could all wish for in order to make a new Middle East. But I can tell you that we are not taking anything off the table in order to just protect our civilians and our children of Israel. And if we have to look at Trump's plan, which for me, as I think, is thinking outside of the box, and if we have to consider other things, like we have examined over the decades, we will. But I don't see it as ethnic cleansing, let alone...
So would you like, let me ask you then, let me ask you, would you like to cleanse Gaza of all the Palestinians?
Listen, I don't use the terminology of you and your colleagues. That is not my terminology.
Well, that's the terminology of your colleague.
Is not my terminology, just like the settlements that you mentioned with the person
it's the terminology, to be clear, it's the terminology of your own cabinet colleague. It's Smodrich, your finance minister. It's your colleague, not mine or my colleagues. It's the language used by your finance minister only 2 weeks ago.
I can tell you that for the first time ever, we have a very right-wing government, as you can see. Our views are very transparent, and everything that is held in the cabinet and not in the cabinet, but in the government is being shared outside. No one is hiding anything. Now, Smotrich and Ben-Gvir are not a part of my party, but they are a part of this government. And I'm telling you, although I'm not representing them, that they are talking about the Trump's plan, and we are considering it just like we consider any other plan in order to protect our civilians. Now, I want to say another thing about that. Listen, I don't know. I heard your interviews, and I know you talk about Smotrich and his things that he said, but I want to say something about Bezalel Smotrich, although I have nothing to do with his party. Yes, he's a part of my government, not from my party. I don't know that, but Smotrich went to more funerals this year than you went in your entire life. Okay, his entire family and his entire wait 1 second. Wait 1 second.
You have no idea how many funerals I've been to.
And
how
his
do you know
entire
that?
friends, because I tell you, he went to hundreds and hundreds of funerals from his own community. His heart was broken. We are wounded. Our ministers are wounded from the sights we saw. I wanted to tell you before, and you stopped me. As the Minister for Social Equality and the Advancement of Women, what I saw that women have endured, your eyes and your mind could never comprehend. The fact is that we have children in Gaza today that the interview before was talking about that are being raised on Mein Kampf. They are being raised of killing Jews from the second they are born. This is what they say. And you know what? If you don't believe me, you can talk with the hostages that came back from captivity. And
what would you do with them? What would you do with them? The Palestinians.
With who?
The Palestinians. What would you do with them?
Well, first of all, this is not an issue now with the Palestinians. This is not an issue with the terror regime of Hamas. In my idea,
I'm asking you what you would do with the Palestinian population. What would you do with it?
I don't know. Would you like to accept them, or we eliminate the terror of Hamas? Would England accept them?
Well, let me read you.
Maybe another Arab
let me remind you of some of the things that you've said yourself. Yeah. All right, during an October 24 rally in support of Jewish settlements in Gaza, you said there should be another Nakba, referring to the 1948 Palestinian displacement of hundreds of thousands of people. You also said, I am personally proud of the ruins of Gaza, and that every baby, even 80 years from now, will tell their grandchildren what the Jews did. That was in February, you said this. You want explicit violence against Hamas and Palestinians. In February 2024...
Against Hamas, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We want to eliminate every terrorist of Hamas. Let me tell you that.
Hang on, I haven't finished yet. I haven't finished. Sorry, I haven't finished. I haven't finished yet.
Oh,
in December 2023, please. You said, I don't care about Gaza. I literally don't care at all. I mean, and I could go on reading you stuff you've had. So my point is, you say that Smodrich and Ben-Gvir, they're the right-wingers. You're sounding pretty right-wing yourself.
I'm a right-winger as well. I'm a right-winger as well. Right. Absolutely.
Would you say you're an extremist?
That doesn't mean I take any pleasure of an innocent Arab man or woman or child in Gaza suffering. But the fact is that you all, for some reason, refuse to acknowledge is that Hamas is using them as human shields all the time.
I've never denied that. I've never denied that.
I want to ask you, Mr. Morgan, you think...
I know what Hamas do.
I wanted to ask you something. You care very much about the Gazans, right? I want to ask you something. You know,
I care about Israelis
when we had the horrifying Holocaust. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. When we had the horrifying Holocaust, do you know that we had such a thing called the righteous among the nations? Those were Christian people who risked their own lives in order to save Jews. Now, I'm asking you, Mr. Morgan, I'm still waiting for one Gazan person, one out of 2 million, to come out and say, this is where the hostages are. This is where they hide. Or one of them to come and say, this is where the terrorism are. This is where they hide all of their weapons and their rockets and all of the horrible tunnels where they abuse our hostages. Not even one. Now, even though I said that, I can tell you that right now, the IDF, which I tell you, you cannot agree, that's okay, but I tell you, IDF is the most moral army in the world. I repeat, is the most moral army in the world.
Okay, well, that brings
me...
He's
not shooting.
Okay.
He's not, one second, one more sentence, Mr. Morgan, please.
Okay.
Is not shooting at population, is not shooting an innocent population. But you tell me, what do we need to do when Hamas terrorists are hiding behind human people, are hiding behind schools,
you know the first thing you could do?
Underground of hospitals? What do we need to do?
You know the first thing you could do? You could lift the ban that the Israeli government has put on international journalists going into Gaza, so that all the claims that you make, which always blame Hamas for absolutely everything, could be verified by independent journalists. Why don't you do that? Why for 20 months have you banned international media from going into Gaza? An unprecedented ban for any modern warfare. Why have you done this?
Well, I want to tell you that, first of all, you have to understand something. The IDF army is not trained to shoot in bursts. They are trained to shoot through sights in a single shot mode. That means they are not shooting like in the movies, like you think, spraying all over.
What's that got to do with the media being banned?
I will tell you right now. So if you'll just let me finish. So you would agree with me that if the IDF would have shot in bursts, Gaza would have been a parking lot within 12 hours, and that would have been much more dangerous to the. No, it's not.
You've destroyed 70% of Gaza already, and you're carrying on destroying the rest.
For the Gazans
Gaza is a parking lot. With all due respect, Minister, you have reduced two-thirds of Gaza to a parking lot. Why are you pretending otherwise?
Mr. Morgan. No, I'm not pretending. I don't need to pretend.
Funny?
I'm saying the reality like it is. No,
you think that's funny?
Of course, it's funny. It's funny when you think that I'm pretending. I'm sitting here in front of you. I don't have to, right? I can live my life and don't conduct with you. But I am sitting here because I know I'm telling the truth. I have no reason to lie. Now, regarding to the journalists, the IDF has declared the Gaza Strip as a very dangerous combat zone, and there is a risk not just for the journalists to be harmed by the terrorists or by the IDF trying to eliminate the terrorists that are hiding behind civilians, but also there is a risk for journalists to be kidnapped. But I have to ask, Mr. Morgan, you are so worried about journalists that will eventually go into Gaza. Don't worry about that. But what about worrying a little bit that maybe the Red Cross would go in to visit our hostages that are drinking sewage water, that are sitting in cages of 1 meter, that are being abused,
to be clear,
raped,
again,
beaten up, that haven't been eaten, that no one knows what is going on
If I
with
may get
them.
a word
Not
in.
like the Red Cross that is coming into our
If I may
prisons
respond.
and visiting murderers,
Okay.
Arab murderers.
If I may-
they are visiting them.
If I may respond, I agree.
Yes.
The hostages should be released. It is disgusting they were taken in the first place. It remains disgusting. It is horrific that Hamas holds the families of these hostages through this unbelievably unbearable 20 months of hell. I hope that clarifies my position on hostages. But you talk about the IDF being the most moral army in the world. On Friday, the Israeli publication Haaretz published a story claiming the IDF are deliberately firing at Palestinians at aid distribution centres. Soldiers from the IDF told the publication that commanders ordered troops to shoot at crowds to drive them away or disperse them, even though it was clear they posed no threat. More than 400, maybe 500 people have been killed apparently in this manner. Benjamin Netanyahu, of course, immediately said all of this was malicious falsehood designed to defame the military. And the Israeli military has launched an investigation into possible war crimes following the report. But you see, this is the problem, and this is why the fact there's no media there is so important. It's not down to the IDF to decide whether journalists are at risk. It's down to the journalists and their organisations. And if the journalists were there, they could verify exactly who is shooting who in the food lines. Because you just say, as you always do, everything is being done, every bad act in Gaza is being done by Hamas. And everybody else says, no, actually, the IDF are doing a lot of bad things too. But the only way to really get to the bottom of this is let the journalists
Who's everybody else?
Pretty much everybody
Who's everybody else?
Pretty much everybody.
Everybody else.
The only journalists allowed to operate, of whom you've killed nearly 200, the Palestinian journalists, they, of course, are the only journalists that can actually get any reports out because they're the only ones allowed in because they're already there. You have the United Nations. You have allies like the UK, like France. You've got America now who wants to bring this to an end. Pretty much everybody around you. And here's the irony for this. When Israel attacked Iran, I thought that was a justified thing to do, to neutralize Iran's nuclear capability. I was glad that Israel finally did that action. I was glad that Donald Trump joined in and specifically targeted the nuclear capacity that Iran has. I think it would have been a disaster for the world if they were allowed to develop nuclear weapons. But the way you went about taking on Iran, the way you went about taking on Hezbollah, bears no relation to what you've done in Gaza. You're just obliterating Gaza. And you don't really care how many civilians are dying in the process. You say you do, but you don't really.
That is a lie. You can stop saying that. Just the fact that you... Listen, Mr. Morgan, because if you repeat something again and again and again, it won't make it true. That we don't want to kill innocent civilians in Gaza, period. But I'm telling you again and again that once they hide under human population and we have to eliminate terrorists, we have to do what we have to do. And I don't remember you asking the allies that you were talking about in World War II if they were hiding about how many children died when we eliminated the Nazis. I don't remember that. You know what? I don't remember in any mid-war where you count numbers, but you obviously emphasize on on what's going on in Gaza. Now, the difference, the difference between Gaza and Iran and Hezbollah. Wait, you asked such a long question. You can't let me answer in 1 minute.
It's a simple question. How many Hamas have been killed?
The difference, I will answer. Let me finish. The difference between Iran and Hezbollah is the fact is that Gaza is the most crowded population that we need to deal with, and 2 million people in the Gaza Strip that are so crowded, and the terrorists are hiding in between. I can tell you, Mr. Morgan.
How many Hamas have been killed?
I don't think we will eliminate every Hamas person because we didn't eliminate every Nazi person.
But how many Hamas have you killed?
I'm not going to go into specifics with you. I'm going to tell you as a government member. I'm not going to. We'll end this war. We'll end this war, and you'll know everything. You'll be able to go in. You'll be able to hear all the numbers.
If you don't know how many you've killed, how do you know how many are left to be killed?
Because I can first of all, I know, and I'm choosing as a government member to not tell you that because I know that once you get some knowledge, you turn it. Of course I do. I'm a government member. But I can tell you. What do you mean? How many terrorists we killed?
Yes.
I can tell you that we have more. We have many more.
Well, how
and
many?
This is what
How many?
The reason I will not tell you. I will not tell you.
So
you can
know,
ask
but
20
you won't
times,
tell me.
But the reason Yes, exactly.
How many civilians have you killed?
The reason.
How many
that
civilians
we
have
are
you killed?
Trying to eliminate is that you can ask it again. I will not answer.
How many civilians have you killed? Do you
By
know?
the way,
Do you know how many civilians you've killed?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. The
So you
civilians,
do
I
know
don't
how many terrorists
I
you've
don't know.
killed? You've no idea how many civilians
because
you've
we
killed.
have the difference is that we have a list of terrorists that we want to eliminate. We don't aim to kill innocent people in order. We don't have a list of them.
Okay.
But I can tell you, I can assure you that the IDF is trying to avoid as many innocent casualties as possible.
Minister,
and therefore,
you know what, Minister? It's not doing a very good job of avoiding killing innocent people.
That is rude of you to not let me finish, Mr. Morgan.
Yeah.
Let me finish one sentence. I can tell you that the IDF, every time it needs to eliminate a terrorist, it tells the population to go to this humanitarian corridor or to this humanitarian corridor. They alert them in advance, unlike the terrorists who shoot at us and shoot at an innocent population, murder children and women and elderly and men and everything in their power they can. By the way, they eliminate many foreigners, dozens of foreign nationalities on October 7th. What on earth did they do to them? So eventually, I just want to tell you that the IDF has no willing whatsoever to shoot at an innocent population when they want, in actual fact, to save the Gazans from the real occupations of the Hamas terrorism who abuses them. And I wonder if you see those videos that the Hamas people are, that the Gazans are freeing in the WhatsApp and in the social medias when they're saying Hamas won't let us out. Hamas won't let us take the humanitarian aid. Hamas is killing us if we're just daring to talk. And if you think that Hamas is a legitimate ruling, then I don't know what to say. But if you don't, and I think you don't, then you should be thanking us, like the rest of the world, for freeing the Gazans from the Hamas ruling, which is a Nazi terror of our days.
I started this interview by saying Hamas should not obviously be in charge anymore. But I also think the IDF should stop what they're doing in Gaza now because too many innocent people are being killed. And I'm afraid I don't believe what the IDF or the Israeli government is now saying about what's happening in Gaza because you won't let the media in to verify it. And in my experience, there's a long history of being a journalist. When people stop journalists going into an area like Gaza during a war, it's because they don't want people to see what they're doing there. They've got something to hide. Anyway, I've got to leave it there.
That's correct.
My Golan, thank you very much indeed for joining me. I appreciate it.